What's up, everybody? BobbyFoster here. I'm excited. This is the first episode of the new podcast, Foster the Knowledge. Episode 1, we are going to be talking about the music world, the music industry. Is it declining? Is it going in a good place? We'll have to see. That's what we're going to discuss. If you happen to like this podcast episode, definitely follow wherever you're listening to it. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe, that bell, hit that like. Definitely comment as well. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for you because if you like this content, it'll show up for you more as well. But we're just going to go ahead and get into this topic. And so today, my first guest is Charles Hines. We've known each other for 7 years now, I think 6, 7 years. We went to the same college. We were on the same spoken word competitive team, both creative writing majors. So I'm really excited to have you here, Charles. I'm going to throw it to you so you can, tell the people what you're all about.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Charles Hines. I'm a professional spoken word poet, published author, and just music connoisseur, music lover. Like Bobby said, we go way back, and I'm honored to be here. Bobby and I, we constantly arguing over music opinions, things like that. So I'm glad he had me come on so we can just, chop it up, hash some things out, and we'll see where we land. I'm excited to be here.
Facts. Definitely happy to have you here. Like I said, like this conversation is going to go great. Me and Charles always have awesome debates on music, kind of see music a different way. So I know it's going to have some great conversations. So let's just start this off with, I'm just going to ask you the broad question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the music industry is in a good place or is it falling into a bad place?
So I always say, and so when I say music, so as far as like the industry and the business behind it, I won't even get into that. But music, what the people are consuming, what's being released, I feel like music is always, and I hope that music will always be in a good place. I can't think of a time where I personally have felt that music was in a bad place. And I feel like those people who sit there and they go, there's no good music out there, you're not looking hard enough.
I agree.
Yeah. So my favorite thing about music is how big it is. So there's just so much out there. So the top 40 may be in a bad place, or rock and roll R&B may be in a bad place, but I don't think music is ever in a bad place.
That's a great point. I feel like, when it comes to specific genres, I do feel like they can slip and, not be as innovative or as gripping for the mainstream, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like as a whole, there is always good, innovative music happening somewhere. However, ever since I started reacting, I feel like there is one place in music that has drastically fallen off, in my opinion.
Okay.
The art of the album. I feel like a lot of albums are trash. I'll be dead serious, like the sequencing of them, how they're basically playlists of hits now, because, it's better to have a lot of songs on an album, which is why we're seeing like these 20 to 30 song albums on the regular. And we're not getting full projects anymore. We're getting these things where they're just hoping that at least one of these songs can get on a playlist. And I feel like it's destroying the listening experience of albums. There's a lot of albums I've heard where it's like, man, like, I really just wish this was a cohesive piece of art. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like we're getting that hardly at all anymore.
I would have to agree. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. So biggest reason I'm going to blame streaming for that.
Yes,
because
100%.
I feel like streaming services, and don't get me wrong, I am 100% a fan of streaming. I love streaming because I'm a music lover and because I jump all over the place. I love having everybody at my fingertips. I remember those days on iTunes and LimeWire, writing down every song that I needed so I can collect all that, and purchasing each individual individual song one by one. And I am very happy that streaming has given the consumer that accessibility. As far as artists and how things fall with them, again, that's a whole nother conversation. But I do think streaming is an incredible thing just for music lovers and music consumers. It's all right there. But it's also kind of devalued the importance of albums. Because back in the day when you had to physically go and buy albums, you're committing to the whole thing. So nowadays, there's kind of like, there's not as much commitment to listen to a full project or to care about an artist and their full project anymore, because so much is right there. And I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons that artists nowadays aren't putting a focus on creating a full album that makes sense and makes people feel, because odds are, like, who will really sit here and listen and consume this whole album and think about each song as the collective? Like, it's just not what people are doing nowadays. And then I also feel like that because of that, like you said, songwriting has really, really gone downhill, in my opinion. And I guess it's funny because I feel like singular songs and people blowing up for singular songs has, like, probably is at an all-time high. But the art of songwriting and creating a song that tells story and makes sense and fits in somewhere, I feel like is out the window because of that and because of albums. So back when people were creating albums that had themes or purposes or messages, like you had this larger project, but also your song had to kind of push forward this concept and still be able to stand on its own. And I feel like, people don't do that anymore. It's like you said, it's all about getting on that playlist. It's all about capturing attention for the moment being. And that's something that I definitely agree has been really, really sad. I know one of my biggest musical pet peeves right now, and you talk about this all the time, and I completely disagree. I don't know who started it. I don't know who's responsible. I hate this short song stuff.
I know you don't like it. I love it. And I know you say you disagree. I love it. I love the short songs, especially because, like, look, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not affected by how, like, consumers are listening to music different. I put myself in that category. I listen to music different. I listen to a lot of different kind of people, and I'm also a playlist listener. So I like having these short songs that, I can listen to, like, in a short time, get to the next one, get to the next one, get to the next one. But I will say, I feel like going back to the art of the album, like, I feel like in an album, not all songs should be short. Like, you should have your album cuts that are for your fans that want to, hear something introspective or whatever, something like that, that's longer. Like, I consistently listen to this 11-minute song by Kendrick, right? Like, I consistently listen to it, the whole thing. But it's like, if I'm just getting into you, I don't know if I want to listen to a 6-minute song, a 5-minute song. Like, give me like 2 verses, 2 hooks, and let's keep it pushing. Like, I need to test your music out. You know what I'm saying? So give me something short.
Okay, I understand that in the sense of, testing the waters with certain artists. And again, I feel like that is a new thing because music, unlike ever before, has been so saturated with so many different people. Yeah. So there's always somebody every Friday, New Music Friday, there's always somebody new on the table to experience and listen to.
Facts.
And I'm very much someone who gets attached to artists. So everybody who knows me, I'm very vocal about who I listen to and who I like. And so when I listen to an artist, I listen to an artist. It's not like, oh, so-and-so is my favorite and I only know 3 of their songs. I listen to the discography. I like to see where they've come from, what they've tried, what they haven't tried. And maybe that's why it takes me so long, one, to catch on to these musical changes and musical trends because, okay, so my favorite singer is Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey has 15 albums. Like, I'm listening to those 15 albums, and in that time span, so-and-so is showing up and so-and-so is showing up. And
that's how I used to listen to music too. Like, prior to this reaction channel, prior to that, like, I would just listen to my tight circle of artists, honestly. Like, and I would listen to a lot of different artists, but at the same time, like, kind of like you, like, if I get into someone's discography, I'm gonna listen to it like over and over and over and over again. I do like how this reaction channel has opened me up to different music. Like, you know, like I'm going through Taylor Swift's discography right now. Been through Nicki's discography, Doja's discography, Ariana's. And I really do like seeing that journey. But like when it comes to a great example here, Donda, right? I listen to Kanye West all the time, right? But it's like a lot of the songs on Donda are way too long for me. Way too long for me.
I understand that specifically for Donda, I like isolation wise, because so I tell people, I feel like Donda was like a great movie that I never want to see again. Like, I listened to it once. No, I listened to it once and I was like, okay, this is fantastic, but I didn't want to listen to it again.
Especially, so no replay value for you.
Yes, especially for an album coming out in this day and age. But also what I appreciate about Donda that we're not getting from elsewhere, and Kanye has always been great about doing this, is kind of building a world from his music.
Yes.
I feel like when you listen to Kanye's production, it's very much like, I feel like, and again, so I'm not a huge Kanye fan. I've just actually recently started listening to Kanye and kind of understting why people hold him to such esteem. Like, no, my roommate Kanye is like his main. And so I was like, okay, let me look back and kind of see what everyone's talking about. And Kanye really, I feel like he builds a world. I feel like when you listen to his soundscapes and what he chooses, it's an experience, but it's meant to be experienced more than just, okay, I like Jail and I like okay, and these are the songs I'm hanging on. Like, no, he wants you to be immersed in this larger thing. And I'm not disappointed with Donda because I felt like it does
what it was supposed to do.
But I also understand people's gripes, especially nowadays. So I'm not just casually tossing on Donda if I'm driving or like.
What type of albums do you feel like, or not even just albums? I guess like albums, artists, I don't know, maybe specific songs even. What do you feel like is saving music at the moment?
So,
let me go first. Yeah, I gotta go first. I'm hype about this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I felt like, I feel like there's been 4 out. Whatever. I'm just gonna list. So Olivia Rodrigo's album blew me away. I feel like it went against kind of like everything I'm saying is the norm for a mainstream artist. It was short, right? It was very introspective. It wasn't just like full of hits. It was constructed as a body of work. And like, I really enjoyed listening to that. I listen to it all the time. I feel like Montero by Lil Nas X, kind of like the same thing. Like he did have a lot of hits, but there were so many layers to that album, from like introspective level, a societal level, storytelling stuff. I feel like that album was fire. Then I feel, so this is kind of like an iffy one. When it comes to Planet Her with Doja Cat, I feel like we're still in the era. I'm expecting a lot moving forward. Going back to what you were just talking about creating a universe, I feel like she still has the opportunity to do that with that album, like through live performances, music videos, all this kind of stuff, because it is like a whole world concept. And then my sleeper album of the year is Baby Keem's Melodic Blue. I will rep that album forever. I listen to that album like front to back all the time. And no, it's not just because he's Kendrick's cousin. Okay, people, it's not just because he's Kendrick's cousin. I started listening to him because he was Kendrick's cousin. But that's not why I'm
No,
saying.
it's a dope album.
I feel
it's
like
a dope album. I've listened to it like 4 times.
Yeah, and okay, all right. I'm gonna let you get to what you think is saving. But I have a great question for later. I'm gonna keep it. So
Okay,
stay in suspense, people. So, but the reason why I feel like all 4 of those albums are saving music, if you will, I feel like they all have the similar quality of multiple layers to the project. Honestly, that's pretty much it. Like, and that's kind of a low bar maybe to have, but I feel like there's so many people in the mainstream that aren't even reaching that criteria. Like I'm talking about, like it's like rebellious to have a cohesive album nowadays with album cuts and layers and introspection and storytelling, all these things that were on a lot of albums before. And so those are like the 4 albums I would say that are like top of my list at the moment that I feel like are keeping me interested in music.
Okay. This has been such a unique year for music. One, because I feel like everybody just decided they wanted to wake up and release music.
Hey, had to wait for touring.
I feel like every single person was like, all right, it's time, and everybody's been back. So musically, my focus has been all over the place. And so the biggest thing I feel like is saving music, will always save music. I love artists who are intentional. I love when I can listen to a project and I can hear that the artist took their time, especially because music is so accessible and saturated nowadays. It's a lot of artists, and you can still get great work this way, but that are just throwing stuff out there and just hoping it sticks, or just tossing things together. So I love listening to an album. I love listening to a song, and I know, oh no, you thought about this sound, about these words, about what you put out. I love listening to artists like that. And so just album wise this year, I'm still on the fence about what I think is the best album, but just throwing some stuff out there. So I definitely say Hotels, and it's crazy because Hotels goes against everything.
Wait, what's Hotels?
Hotels, Jasmine Sullivan. So
Hotel.
So,
I thought you said Hotels, like
no,
motel,
hotel. No, and
Hotels was fire.
Yes,
Hotels was fire.
But look, Hotels with the interludes. Hotels is like 32 minutes long with the interludes. Like she gave us like 20 minutes of content, but to justify why I feel like that's one of the better albums of this year is, one, she had a cohesive concept.
Yep.
It felt like the entire album, everything felt like it belonged together, but then
100%.
somehow each song had its own individual personality.
That song with Ari, that song's fire.
Every single song has its own kind of space in this larger piece. And so once again, and maybe it is smart. So the album is barely over 30 minutes long. So you can listen to the whole thing over and over again if you want to, or you can just jump in between these songs that are quick, but capture your attention because they have enough of an identity of their own. And I do credit that to great songwriting as well, because me personally, just as a mental music rule, I'm just like, a song, I feel, for me personally, should be at least 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Give me 3:30.
See, that's long for me now.
No, I feel like that's bare minimum. But good songwriters, and some of my favorite songs, especially that's come out of this year, have been incredibly short.
Well, okay. I mean, you're onto something there, because like we know this from doing poetry. Like the shorter something you do, you can't waste a word. You can't waste a line.
Yes.
So you gotta make sure that your writing is tight if you have a short song, because you have like way less space to work with. So,
100%. Yeah. And so I do appreciate these songs that somehow give us all of these incredible factors that make a great song and can be short. So I'm going to... And people of this guy, first one I can see, Solar Power by Lorde. Solar Power is 3 minutes and 9 seconds. That tells you how much. It's 3 minutes and 9 seconds.
You knew that off the top of your head? That's crazy.
Yes, yeah. but it feels like a whole journey. Like in this 3 minutes and 9 seconds, we still get 2 verses. We get a chorus that's very simple, but we get these bridges, and she somehow in this short period of time gives us all the great elements of a song, and it still feels like movement. And I feel like artists have been real lazy nowadays with these one verses, with skipping hooks or not really having a chorus or not fleshing out a chorus, and giving us songs that feel incomplete. That's my biggest gripe with Ariana Grande. Like,
positions?
Yeah, I'm just like, it don't matter that you gave me 17 whatever songs if these songs feel like interludes. I'm just like, you could have.
Interesting. I know a lot of people said that especially the deluxe tracks, a lot of people were saying it was basically just like interludes. I agree with that.
Additional content. That's a single song.
I agree with that.
Single song.
And like, I will say though, I think another thing that like was saving music this year, in my opinion, well, hip hop specifically, I feel like Seeing Green was a moment. It was the big 3 back, and then no hook at all, straight rapping. And then also same thing happened with Family Ties with Baby Keem and Kendrick. No hook, straight rapping. And I feel like those type of things, because hip hop has also become, like, hip hop's the #1 genre in the world. There's a lot of money in it right now.
Definitely.
And so it's very mainstream. And so most hip hop artists that we're going to be exposed to are just going to be very, very commercial, right? It is going to be very hook centric, especially with TikTok. Like, you're going to want to have a really good pre-hook, a really good hook, in hopes that people, want to either mouth it or whatever, or dance to it, whatever. Like, I've actually noticed that, like, pre-choruses are really becoming super, super popular. Like, I think they're kind of like replacing bridges almost, because songs are so short.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to have this huge moment before your chorus pops in, and then you want the repetitiveness in the chorus so that people remember it, and it's like constantly playing in their mind. I see what people are doing with their songwriting. I see it. But it's like it's definitely a trick for sure.
And 100%. That is something that I appreciate with Family Ties as a singular song, and something that a lot of artists do are doing very well, especially in this short attention span and day and age, is creating a song that creates a moment. So Family Ties was a very big moment in hip hop, and not just because like the return of Kendrick Lamar or whatever, but like you said, they created a song that still kind of went against the typical hip hop grain that kind of it kind of like resets, or like, how people say like a cultural reset. So it kind of resets what everybody was expecting from that genre.
Bro,
Olivia did that with with Driver's License. So all these pop songs are coming out, and Olivia's like, nah, I'm gonna just give you an honest to goodness sad ballad. Here you go. That's all it is. And you pull these elements from what's modern and what's current, but at the same time create a new, fresh moment that steers attention where it needs to go.
Moments are like so important nowadays with social media. It's almost more important than the music. Kind of like going back to Donda, the experience of it
100%
is like so vital. Like, I'm over here thinking, like, even like when Kendrick did the whole like top of the morning, like, because it was
everywhere.
So weird.
It's everywhere. It took me 3 weeks to listen to the song. But when I tell you, every person, people that I wouldn't even know listen to rap. I'm just like, so how you know about top of the morning? You a country artist? Like,
listen, like, it's the same concept with Drake and the horrible album cover of CLB. It's the same thing. Like, if you can do something that's off the wall and it's like controversial, but like not in some type of like bad for your branding controversial, like, it's gonna go viral. It's gonna get a bunch of attention. And it's like, I think CLB is the biggest example of that. I feel like Drake has mastered that in his lyrics and his marketing. Like, he just does stuff constantly that's memeable, that is like a whole moment like we're talking about. I feel like he's mastered the marketing on that. He does it like all the time. Which actually I want to segue real quick about that. when it comes to, because we are like on this topic of is the music industry, is music going down, is it going up? I feel like this kind of points towards it. I don't know. I guess we'll talk about it. I guess you can see it either way, but with music and how labels don't necessarily matter too much anymore. Like the artists have a lot more power, especially like when it comes to marketing and everything. Mm-hmm. It's almost gotten to the point where your brand, actually, it's not almost, it's definitely at this point, your brand is like way more important than the music you're putting out. Like you being able to, like we're talking about, create a moment on social media. It's like there's a lot of artists where their brand is like bigger than their music. And we're going to see that with like tour sales, how like, you know, there's going to be artists that have huge streams that can't sell out a stadium because like their brand is so big. Right. Is like, I think we saw that first with Chance with like his last tour that got canceled. Like Chance's brand is so big, but his music didn't like add up to the brand and he had to like cancel his tour. And I just want to talk about how like, I'm trying to see how I can frame this question. Like, do you think it is more important for artists, like where their social media brand and their marketing, like, do you think that's more important than the actual music that they're putting out?
It's definitely not more important than the art, because I feel like nothing should be more important than the art. I definitely do think it's getting a lot more attention. One because so like we keep saying, like everything is super saturated. So especially if you're a new artist, if you're fresh on, like if you fresh out the gate, you have to find some way to make people pay attention to you over everybody else that they could possibly pay attention to. And so like we see how when I decide to listen to whoever I listen to, I'm also deciding not to listen to everybody else. And so it's important to capture that attention, just because whether we like it or not, and we definitely like, we try to make space for all artists and we try not to pin people against each other, but like you do got to hold that attention. You do get forgotten in the industry. Yeah, it's incredibly competitive. And so I see why it is important to be memorable outside of your music, especially in a day and age where people aren't listening to albums and really sitting with artists anymore. So if you're an artist and you're only known for this song and that song, you kind of do have to give people something else to cling to so that you're fresh in their mind, or that can carry you over until you release the next song. Because they're like, I feel like there are plenty of artists nowadays who like live single to single, like almost living paycheck to paycheck. They live song to song, who aren't releasing this projects just because it's not what people are paying attention to right now. And how each artist navigates that staying relevant is incredibly different. And I feel like some do it right and then some people don't. So the first person I can think of, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, is Lil Nas X. And I wasn't a fan of Lil Nas X until his album came out. I felt like his whole entire brand and career was like a huge troll.
A lot of people.
It seemed it seemed like everything that everybody was just attaching to him, and that all he had to offer was just him being over the top and ridiculous for no reason. And so me personally, I just wrote him off. I was like, okay, he's a product of this day and age, and I don't see him lasting forever. And so he surprised me, and I feel like he surprised a lot of people, like you said, with the substance and the layers in his music that you wouldn't see. And I feel like that a lot of people still don't see if you didn't listen to the complete project.
I mean, that's true. I mean, like when it comes to his marketing, that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, it's almost as if a lot of artists are seeing themselves as like, okay, like their name, their brand is the asset. And it's like music is kind of just like content. and like this other thing is just content, and this other thing is just content. And it's because like all the money and all the opportunity now is in like being an influencer, basically. Like that's where it's all at. You know, you can have one song and make no money off of it, but you get so much attention that you get a brand sponsorship here, you get, you know, a sponsorship on your social media there. And it's like, that's really where like the money is at. And at the end of the day, I mean, as an artist, you got to get paid. And so like, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, like this, and I feel like I used to be like this a lot. Like this music isn't necessarily genuine. Like this is just a money grab here or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. Now this could be a debate. I don't really know if any music, like if we're talking about like artists that are like professional artists here, right? I don't know if any music is completely genuine in the sense of like people don't think of the monetary gain they can get from it. And like try to frame it in a way that's marketable, try to frame it in a way that's packageable. I don't feel like people just, the people that stay around and make it, I don't feel like they take that off the table. I think it is calculated in that way. And like, I remember, I don't know if we ever talked about this back in the day, but I used to have this real problem with Beyonce with that.
Oh, we
like,
talked about this.
Yeah. I always felt like everything was so calculated and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh man, like I want genuine art, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that was like a naive thing to say. Like Beyonce is Beyonce because of how calculated she is, you know?
So,
and
okay.
I feel,
like, I'm gonna let you finish because you know I'm gonna talk.
Yeah, no, like, okay, so I just feel like I used to like knock artists that I saw that way, but now I like look up to them because it's another facet they've mastered, right? Like what I'm saying, like with Drake, like I think Certified Lover Boy is genius for like, maybe not like, I know a lot of people say it's not good or whatever, which I don't even know if I can believe that because how many albums is selling. Like this thing's getting played a lot by a lot of people, but
y'all saw how it charted.
Yeah, I mean, it's so marketable. Drake is so marketable, and that just doesn't happen. Like it's very calculated what he's doing. And I feel like that's like, okay, flip side, and now I'm gonna let you get to what you got to get to. We could talk about Beyonce, but when I learned that Lil Wayne doesn't even pick his track list for his album, that really bothered me. Like he said, like all he does is he makes a bunch of songs and then he gets his manager basically to pick songs out and make an album. Like that really bothered me. Like that, like I feel like that could come off as genuine. All he does is care about his raps, his art, or whatever. But I feel like there should be some strategy, should be some level of being calculated with it. Like I feel like it comes off better that way. So my mind is switched on that, but we could go back to what you wanted to.
No, definitely. But I guess not just Beyonce, but so this is where I feel like music meets the music industry. Yes. So every artist in the industry, in any industry, something that you're going to have to understand what you're doing, like no matter what you're doing. Like and so just any artist anywhere, and not just artists, but this is like athletes, it's just any artist anywhere. There's going to be a point where you have to come to terms with being commodified or making yourself a commodity. And I don't know anybody that can be like that has been commodified or has achieved extreme success and has done it exactly 100% the way they wanted to do it with no compromises at all. That's impossible. Exactly. I think that's an unrealistic thing.
It won't. It would never happen.
I wrote a whole literature paper. Like, no, like it's impossible. It's an impossible expectation. I wrote an entire literature paper on the commodification of Beyonce and just the concept behind who she is, and the entire thing of like Beyonce's biggest calling card is that she's Beyonce. And this concept of Beyonce is something that they created over time that, it's just a larger thing than just, this person that can sing. So her and her team, through her music and her image and the things that she does, comes together to push forward this larger thing.
Yeah.
And essentially what it is perfection, or just kind of being the every woman in every facet. And that's something that I personally, as someone who loves studying music politics and just kind of like the little isms and the whys behind music. That's something I appreciate. And that's something that I think is kind of mandatory for you to be an artist with longevity. So again, because there are like there's talent everywhere, and there's always going to be talent. There's always going to be dope people who deserve to be listened to. But for you to be an artist in any facet and know how to maintain a career and hold attention for longer than a year, that's so hard. So like, so we really have to sit back and analyze and look at these people like Beyonce, like Drake, like Taylor Swift, like Mariah, who have had careers for decades, and really say, okay, why did people like them then? And why do people still like them now? And it is calculated. So I don't know if consumers see it, but artists definitely see and feel like these things make a difference. When you release your music makes a difference. How you release your music makes a difference. What you choose to promote in what way makes a difference. Shifting with the sounds and how people are like, these are things that artists have to be privy of outside of just, okay, let me make something that's great that people will like. Yeah, so it's just a small piece of the industry. And it does get incredibly daunting. And so this is the question I have for you that we can definitely debate. It's like, do you feel like we get to a point where we almost expect too much of artists? Because I do feel like it was a time where things were kind of a little bit more straightforward, especially in the industry. It was just, okay, can you sing? All right, let's go. We'll figure everything out. Okay, can you rap? All right, let's go. Can you play an instrument? Let's go. And so you had artists who were exactly what they were. All right, hi, I'm Whitney Houston. I'm a singer. No, I don't write songs. No, I can't dance. But I'm a singer. Hand me everything I need and I'm gonna sing. And that's my calling card. Nowadays, it's like we want everything from everybody. We want you to sing, we want you to write, and we want you to dance, and we want you to be able, like, so are we expecting too much from artists nowadays?
I think, okay, all right. I absolutely think that we are expecting a lot of artists and like from artists. And I feel like this is something that I discovered while I've been reacting to music and talking to a lot of people. It's like everyone expects everyone to be diverse, like you're saying. If someone doesn't switch up a sound, it's now like a knock against them or something. Whereas before, it was just like a pro that, you know, this person can sound different and all this kind of stuff. It's like everyone expects all these different type of voices, kind of like Kendrick and Nicki do. Like that's what people even hype Doja up for, like her versatility with that. And I feel like, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if an artist has a lane and like stays in it. But like at the same time, hold on. At the same time, I feel like this is kind of where I'm at. I'm 27, right? And what I've noticed is the thing that bothers me, the kind of huge expectation I have that I guess, I don't know if this is fair on artists or not, but I would like the artists that I started listening to grow up with me, right? And so like, that's where I kind of feel like I don't have as much of a connection, say with Drake anymore, because Drake's still making music for the audience of the age where he captivated me, like when I was like 17 or 18. Like he's still making music for 17 and 18-year-olds, right? Like he's not making music talking about, you know, any type of introspection of what it is to, you know, be an adult or be a father, like all these life lesson things that he's learning. Like that's kind of what I appreciate with Jay-Z and what he's doing. Like listening to Jay-Z at this point is almost like listening to a mentor, right? Like he's just always putting people on game right now. And something that I'm hoping is like, yeah, like with even like when Kendrick comes out, I hope like he talks about like where he's at in his life. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I do think it's I don't know if I would say we have too many expectations on artists, but I do think the concept of someone needing to be diverse for them to be called good or great, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so maybe not too many expectations or too, but maybe the wrong expectations. So something that I also think is changing again because music is growing and we have just access to so much is I feel like nowadays it's harder to kind of take artists for what they are. So something I feel like it's very much saving music are artists who come right out the gate and they're just kind of sure of themselves and their sounds. So I've
Yeah.
said, and I'll argue with people, I feel like Ari Lennox is one of the best artists of the last 10 years. One, because so Ari has like blown up. She's older in age. I think she's in like her like low to mid 30s. Like, so she's very much had time to kind of say, this is the type of artist I am. This is the type of music I want. And when she released her album, I felt like her sound was solidified. All the singles and collaborations were solidified. And so it just it just felt very much like an artist who is still discovering herself, but just kind of went in with a plan. And especially nowadays, like you say, we're getting a lot of artists and very albums who are just kind of like, okay, let me do a song with this sound, then let me do a song with this sound, then let me do a song with this sound, and kind of just hope that y'all like something.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated Shea Butter Baby and even all of her singles, Pressure, Bust It, like Chocolate Pomegranate. She just said, okay, this is my sound. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what y'all go get.
But I feel like people knock that because did you see all the people complaining about the Adele snippet?
I haven't even looked at the Adele snippet yet.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's gonna be, just like a piano ballad, you know what I'm saying? But people were like Adele's just gonna be singing on a sad song on a piano. I'm like, what do you want Adele to do?
And and I guess yes. Okay. See, when I took you had me thinking for days because I'm one of those people. I was like, okay, Adele just goes and make like because you had me thinking for days about that exact thing. You were just like, all right, what else is Adele gonna do? She's not gonna get up here and dance. Adele's not gonna rap. Like Adele don't be playing no instruments. Like she is a balladeer. That's the type of artist that she is. We know what to expect, and so. And I'm trying to rationalize how I feel about it towards Adele.
I just feel like in this day and age of we have so much content to look at, right? It's like people want something different on a consistent basis because we're just so used to having this barrage of variety of content in front of us. And like, instead of saying, oh, I'll get this from this artist and this from this artist, it's like, we want all of it from our favorite artists. And I feel like that's not really how it works. Like, okay, like another thing, people say Drake always sounds the same, which I don't understand because I feel like there's also the critique of Drake is always biting people's styles. And, like he does, I feel like Drake has a whole bunch of different things that he does. But my point being is like, you can't expect someone to be super consistent and then also switch up what they do. Now, I know, like, we were talking about Adele and she hasn't made an album in 6 years. Like, she has time, and we don't know. She may be doing something completely different. We don't know. Like, we haven't heard the album. But, like, you can't expect someone like Drake, who we have the expectation to drop music every single year, basically, to have enough time to sit and reflect and change his artistry, right? Like that, you can't have both. Like you need time as an artist to like be in silence and observe life and live life to come back to do something new, right? Like that's just how it works. So you can't have it both ways. You can't be super consistent and change all the time.
That's what I prefer. And so I say personally for me, and this is for everybody, that's what I prefer.
What, like taking time away?
Yeah. So
I agree with that too. I've been waiting for Kendrick for 5 years.
I'm just saying my favorite artist is Lord. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay here for 4 years, and I'll take what you have. And
like, I think Drake should disappear for like 3 or 4 years, and like he'll come back and he'll still dominate like he always does, but I feel like people need to miss Drake.
And so I guess my only qualm with that is if I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna miss you and like actively know each day, all right, you're not in my life, I'm ready for some new music, it better be good. Like it,
no,
like
that builds expectations.
It better not disappoint. It better be some type of drastic shift that I can sit with and notice. So, again, example. So Ariana Grande, like Lover, one of my favorite artists. But I do have that gripe of you release music too quick, in the sense of just not, or seeing artistic growth, but not seeing artistic growth in the places that I would expect you to see artistic growth like so far in your career. So I think Ari is on like her 5th album. So I'm just like, why are you still giving me 2-minute songs with half a chorus? Okay, you're 5 albums in, so I think you should know how to create a song and evict emotions. Okay, you're 5 albums in. Why, like you said, like Drake does, why are you still singing about the same stuff you were singing about on your 2nd album? I want to see how you've changed or transformed as a person. But that's also why people cling so much to Sweetener or Thank You Next as her better albums. You really got to see, oh, this is what's going on in your life. Finally, we're seeing these introspective parts. We know you can sing, we know you can harmonize, we know you can release a good song. And so once, especially if I'm following an artist, okay, so once I know, okay, so Ari's a vocalist, I'm here for your vocals, so I know you can do this. Eventually, you're gonna have to show me something else you can do in your realm. So I feel like people are getting upset with Adele because, so this is album 4, right? Yeah, 19.
3?
Yeah. 19, 21, 25, this will be 4.
Oh yeah, but people don't really listen to 19. But yeah, it's 4. It's her 4th album.
So I'm just like, so I know that you can sit and make us cry with these incredible ballads. Like, so I guess I'm ready to see a new layer or something drastically different. And it upsets me because I feel like Adele kind of dips her toe in that. So favorite song on 21 is Rumor Has It. I think Rumor Has It was incredibly different from anything that she dropped on that album. And it was interesting. I would have loved for her to lean into that more. Favorite song on 25 is Send My Love. Again, I was like, okay, this got a little bit of a bop to it. Still you and your vocals, it still feels very much in her lane, but Hello honestly just feels like an extended version of Someone Like You. I feel like I've heard this before.
You know, okay, so and something that I don't, just like as what you're saying, I feel like for me, it's almost like something has to change. There needs to be some type of evolution or growth. If that's musically, okay. If it's topic, okay. Like something has to change. Like we need to see your growth as an artist. We need to see where you're at as an artist. And yeah, I think that's not that big of an expectation. I think that's like human nature almost, right? Like we want to just see, we like to see that narrative. We like to see that storytelling of like, okay, the person was here to here. Like that's why I love going through Beyonce's discography because it's so different, right? And like there's a lot of ways Beyonce can sound the same, but it's like, especially as like later in her career, she like went from this concept to that concept to that concept and just like, you know what? It's like this. I feel like, okay, I'm gonna leave it on this quote because like Kanye said this in an interview once, and he was like, people want me to go back and make College Dropout again, but he's like, I can't. He's like, when I'm working on College Dropout, I can make it the best College Dropout it could be. When I'm working on Graduation, I can make it the best Graduation it could be. And I feel like, you know, he's always talking about how he wants every single album to sound different from the last one, right? And I feel like that's a good thing to live by because that allows you to be in the space you're currently at and just try to do the best version of music where you are right now. And like, that's authentic. Like that's like as authentic as you can be is trying to make the best music of where you're at currently. Like that's the best type. I just feel like that's great advice.
What 100%. And I feel like that's how all artists should look at it. So nowadays, especially with just creators, and something that we want artists to change, but I feel like the artist, so the person, your life, the mind, like the artist will change. Like, so don't let the industry and the world around you, what other people change your content. You living your life and being in a different space
we just want to see the reflection
your
of
perspective.
That.
Yes. And so, like you said, like I see through an artist when it's like, oh, you just jumped on this sound because everybody else on the radio just jumped on this sound. You just formatted your song this way and moved in a direction because everybody else is moving in this direction. But like you said, so if I'm an artist, like I want your music to reflect, this is where I am in my life, this is where I'm feeling right now, this is what I'm focused on right now. Beyonce, I feel like, is a great example of an artist who has shifted, but shifted because her life has shifted. Sure. So I'm just like, so when Beyonce got married, she was singing love songs about her husband, like, and she's doing shit with her husband. She's singing about her family. It's no more, I'm in the club, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking at, like, no, that's no longer your life. That's no longer where you are. And we see through those artists who, and I feel like lots of artists, especially when artists get up in their career. I feel like that's what's happening to Maroon 5. It happened to Mariah Carey. Like lots of these artists who've been around for a while and don't know how to evolve with everybody else and this new audience. And so they try to change themselves based on what they think the world wants. And it does become watered down. Like we see through that. Like, I know you somebody's mama. There's no way that you out here on a Tuesday night, like popping bottles. Like, no, you got 3 kids. Like we see through that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So since we're on this level of growth and evolution, let's end it on this last question to wrap this up. Music industry. What is one thing that you would want to see moving forward that you feel like would put the music industry, the music space in a better space? I can go first. I'll let you think about it.
Go first. I'm going to think about it. So, I got a few things.
My one thing would be, I want to start seeing artists use the streaming era instead of the streaming era using them. And what I mean by that is, like, we're still looking at the music world in an album centric and sales view, where, like, even like to this day, we view like the golden standard of if an album does well is how many sales it has. It shouldn't be that anymore. It should be like how many streams it's getting. Like that's the mode of consumption, right? And like even like people aren't, like, I know I'm saying, like, when it comes to albums, like people are starting to do like these hit playlists, basically these albums, 30 songs to try to like get on streaming. But that's like, I feel like that's like changing your artistry for streaming era. Like, what would it look like to actually have an album use the streaming era? I don't think anyone's tapped into that yet. I think Kanye has tried with like Life of Pablo when he like was gonna like update it, like basically like, you know, like patch it and like go along. And he's done that. Like, I think he did that with Donda too, actually. Like he changed the verse here, changed some engineering. But it's like, I want to know what an album looks like that's created for the era we're currently in, not dictated by the current era that we're in. I don't know if I've seen an album or a project do that. So I feel like that'd be the one thing I would advise artists to think about. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got mine. I would like artists to come in and to release music with kind of an awareness of who they are and what their product is, and just kind of have that security going in. So Even if it's for that moment in time, because we expect artists to change and grow and evolve. But I want those intentional, those thought out pieces. If you're releasing one song, I want that one song to be the best you got in the moment, not just okay, we hope this works type thing. All right, I worked hard on this one song. This was the sound that I was focused on. This was what I was focused on. And then change, as you change or as you grow, or maybe, just maybe, what you create, because you believe in it, because you took time to make it the best it could be, will change the soundscape and the space around you. Like, just because you took time with that. Mm-hmm. That's what I would look for, just those intentional projects, those intentional songs, those intentional artists to know who they are and believe in, I would hope, genuinely believe in what they're giving us even before they give it to us.
I feel you. That intention, I feel like, is definitely important. Definitely something that seems to be missing from at least the mainstream releases we see a lot of the time. But yeah, hey, first episode, Foster the Knowledge. It went down. I really like this conversation. There was like a lot of things that I was taking mental note of that, like, I feel like we could expand on in future episodes.
100%.
Yeah, but I just wanted to thank you, Charles, for coming on, being my first guest. It means a lot to me, bro. I feel like it's always awesome talking music with you. Yeah, bro, I really appreciate it. How'd you enjoy the experience?
Hey, thank you for having me. Like you said, it's just, like, it's dope to always bounce off these ideas. You know, I love talking to you because we have these different perspectives and just little things that we look for as individuals in music. And we saw how just the conversation just shifts and evolves. We talk about one thing, we think of another thing. And it's definitely been dope.
For sure. So y'all make sure to follow the podcast wherever you're listening to it. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe, that like, that bell, leave a comment. Also, definitely make sure to check out Charles's social medias. I'm gonna throw that over to you to shout that out real quick.
Yeah, you can find me on all social media at Charles Hines 401. So that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're at Charles Hines 401.
Yep, and that'll be in the description in the comments on YouTube as well. But yeah, thank you all for listening to this first episode on the podcast. We got a lot more coming. Leave a comment about what you want to hear in the future. I always take feedback super serious, so definitely let me know what y'all want to hear about. Until next time, we'll see y'all.